Hey, welcome to your Gemini horoscopes for the week of Christmas. Starting the 24th, Christmas Eve, ending on the 30th of December. It's our last week of December. It's our last week of 2023, and I am not unhappy about it. I will just have to say that. I'm actually looking forward to 2023 being over. It's been very challenging for a lot of people. And somebody has to start off the week with the moon. And guess what, guys? It's you! Yay! We're starting off the week with the moon in Gemini in a trine with Pluto. The moon's influence on Sunday, it's very much focused on the past. And this time of year, nostalgia comes up a lot. But Pluto comes in with a helping hand because Pluto's focus is on those that support you, those that love you, those that are there for you. And it just sort of shows just how much power there is in those people. And I'm not just talking about the people that you know. I'm talking about those ride or die people. We all have to have at least one of those where you just know that they're the one that's, when you call and say, hey, I'm in trouble, they show up with a baseball bat, and just ready to do whatever it takes to get you out of whatever it is that you're going through. And while this isn't necessarily something that Geminis are known for, I mean, most of Gemini's focus is on the mind and how the mind works. But I feel like, especially if you're trying to overplan or overthink what you want to do, this moon influence sort of gives you a new perspective. And it's unfortunately an emotional perspective. May not necessarily line up with where you're comfortable being, but at the same time, it's sort of necessary to show us intellectuals another side of things. It's also necessary because a lot of people tend to use logic to overcome emotional stuff. And that's not necessarily what our logic is for. We're not trying to make sense of what happened. We're trying to come to terms with our feelings about it. And sometimes that logic actually plays out as justification and a way to band-aid and sort of bury those emotions a little bit. So as uncomfortable as it is, it could just be one of those things that is something that your family does that is just so beautiful. It sort of brings you to tears, which may be a little bit uncomfortable, but it also puts you in a nostalgic place at the same time, which is not a bad thing when you think about it. Now, the moon square with Saturn is kind of where those triggers come from. And Saturn is all about responsibility, not something that an intellectual wants to hear about, but it is what it is nonetheless. With Saturn's responsibility continuing to be focused on our inner trauma, it's sort of showing us that the longer we hold on to that trauma, the longer it rules our lives, it rules our decisions. We don't make great decisions, blah, 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 blah. And so this to me is almost like that place I've been in so many instances in my life where I know what the lesson is. I know what I need to do, but stubbornly, I just don't want to do it. Probably because I'm being pushed into it and I hate being pushed into things. And the minute you step out of that, that's when the healing can begin. And so that's really, I feel, what that square is all about. It's sort of bringing the situation up in a way that's emotionally overwhelming, which is uncomfortable, but the results help you move past this thing that you may not have even realized has been holding you back for a while. Getting into Christmas, and midday, the moon is still in Gemini and moves into a grand sextile with that Mercury retrograde, which is now in Sagittarius, and Mars, which is in conjunction with Mercury, and Neptune, which is also focused on trauma. This is unpleasant. Plain and simple, this is unpleasant, especially on Christmas Day. But at the same time, when families get together, it can be highly interesting and emotional and have a lot of issues. And this is kind of the representation of that a little bit, especially around um, when people have opinions about your goals, your long-term goals. And Mercury and Mars really are focused on those long-term goals right now. And it's sort of, this is where it becomes a trigger, because it's sort of, in my opinion anyways, it sort of starts to feel like you're realizing just how many times somebody's opinion came in, and the result of that opinion was that you didn't do what you wanted to do. And you start to wonder, would I have been successful had I done that? And then you get the whole overthinking thing, and the moon's focus is on your thoughts right now. So we get a lot of emotional thoughts. This is literally getting sucked into that emotional tornado and not really knowing how to get out of it. The truth of the matter is that in terms of learning trauma's lessons, it's reminding you of times where people got in the way and didn't like what you were doing. And so you stopped. This time, you don't have to overthink it. Don't make the same decision. So what if somebody doesn't like what you're doing? If I had a dime for every time I was told that thing in your head is not working, I'd have a lot of dimes right now. The point is that we need to do what we feel is right and not necessarily rely on what everybody else thinks that we should do, because they're not coming from the same place as we are. They can't possibly. Um, so it is a little bit of a challenge. Luckily, the moon is out of there by the end of the night, because we have a full moon on Christmas, but it's not your full moon. It is technically a Cancer full moon, but it's literally going into Cancer in this major challenge and difficulty, which is definitely unpleasant. For you guys, though, the unpleasantness ends as the moon gets farther and farther away from that cusp. So a little bit into the middle of the day, you might still feel that messiness a little bit. But as you get further and further and further on in the day, on Tuesday, it kind of sort of goes away. And your focus continues to be on the mind and how the mind works. Vespa is officially moving back into Gemini at the same time, also being retrograde pretty much through the week, yes, all the way through the week. So, and this kind of, actually, this is interesting that this happens right after this huge challenge that you face, especially such an emotional challenge like that, because Vespa it represents security. It's the eternal flame that burns on the hearth. It's that place in our mind where we felt most secure and wanting to get back to that place. With it retrograde, it sort of feels like you're stuck overthinking how you are just never going to get there, if that makes sense. I have to say that this year, one of my biggest challenges and lessons and struggles was around the word security and what that means. The old versions of what that means compared to today's versions of what that means, compared to what my own personal version of that means, which I am now constructing, because honestly, it should be an individual decision of what that means and not necessarily society's vision of what that means, if that makes sense. not fun happening around Christmas, I have to say. If it could happen any other time, but then again, somebody had to get that Christmas moon, unfortunately. You guys lucked out this year and got it. So thanks for taking one for the team. All you guys really appreciate that. See you next year when it's not yours and it belongs to somebody else, hopefully. But that's what I have for you guys this week. Don't let anybody tell you what you should and shouldn't be doing, and when they do, you don't have to get into the freaking tornado here. You can just step out of the tornado and go, hi, you know what? You have a right to your opinion. Thanks for sharing it. Think you drive through and do what you're going to do. um, Really important to set goals on that to keep you on track, to make sure that you commit to this new change and these goals that you're setting for 2024. That is really important for intellectuals, especially because that we get easily distracted and we don't want to play that game anymore. That's what I have for you guys this week. If you love your horoscopes, do consider clicking the link in the description and sending a tip or donation through my coffee link. I would really appreciate that. I love the support. You guys are awesome. Pardon me. Also in the description for one more week, last week, one more week, I am offering 25% off on all readings, 1 hour readings, I should say. The link is in the description, and so is the promo code to get that 25% off. Make note of the promo code, click the link, fill out all the information, set your day, put your promo code in, get your discount. It's really that simple. You can do it all in probably less than 5 minutes, probably even less than that, to be honest. Super, super simple. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys next week. You guys handle it because you're so good at it, and make it a great week. Merry Christmas, you guys.